So I've noticed, yeah, right, my eyes are starting to change color. So I'm in the conservatory, which is glass, of course, and the sun can shine through. But
Nice.
now the sun is out and it hasn't been out for ages. I'm getting more sun to my eyes. And I actually was born with hazel eyes. And as I've gotten older, they've just been brown. But now, for example, when I'm out in the sun, they go back to hazel. And I'm thinking to myself, wow, if eyes can change color based on light, and fish can change color in the sea based on light, and leaves change color based on light, then sun and the light essentially controls everything and anything, and that nothing can stay the same, including our body. So if we have a disease, for example, you can heal that disease when you understand that things change and they're never just one, and it's all
Yeah.
circumstantial.
Yeah. That is actually quite true. I agree with you on that. Um, I think equally the sun and the moon share that. I think personally, I believe that if the sun has the power to change and affect everything around us, and essentially affect the color of everything, I do believe that the moon holds that power as well. Because I mean, the moon is reflecting what the sun actually is. So in essence, I completely agree with that. I've never actually heard of anyone put it in that sense. Uh, but it's kind of logical if you think about it when it comes to the color. I mean, obviously, sun and light does change the color of your eyes, does change the color of leaves as well. It does affect the color of everything else. I mean, your skin too as well. I mean, that's what a tan is it not? So I do think that if it has that power to essentially change color and pigmentation of things around us and everything that is, it most definitely can have the power and attributes to heal and maybe indirectly affect diseases. And I mean, as the sun, if the sun can cause a disease, if the sun can cause some sort of a pigmentation problem or whatever, what's to say it cannot undo something, you know, even if we're not currently aware of it. With scientific, I'm pretty sure they've found something that proves this. But I do believe that it has that power within it, and equally the moon as well.
Yeah, so if you think about how when you cook food, right, you put an intense amount of heat, which is light, for example, yeah, and it kills off the meat. But then if you
Yeah,
flip it, sun creates life with flowers. If you give too much sun and light to flowers, it will die, it will dry up.
yeah,
But if you give it just enough, it will grow and get bigger. So what does that say? It says that the sun can destroy and create. Like if you leave your sofa out by the window, it loses its light pigment. If you notice the color of the fabric, it fades away.
yeah,
Your hair can change color in the light. The sun controls everything, and I've never been a big believer about the power of the moon because to me the moon is just Earth without, say, grass, for example, and water. It's just
uh,
like a bit of rock that was floating, and Earth managed to pick up some water and some sand and some shit like that. And so I don't. So it's not like you don't see the moon as like a living thing like Earth because Earth has stuff living on
yeah,
it,
yeah,
because the moon doesn't. It's like, well, how can the moon give off anything if it's not got life on it, for example? But then when you think about how everything is about magnetism and reflection, and if the sun is so powerful and everything has a magnetic field, then the moon is being charged by the sun, and the moon is giving off energy to what in its surroundings, which is the Earth, which means we're picking up energy from the moon from the sun, which means the
yeah,
moon has a massive effect on the Earth. When you think about how big the sun is, how small the moon is, you've got like it's like 50 tons of pressure on one thing, and it's like, well, I need to put this out somewhere, and when it puts it out, the Earth is just next door. Basically, we're going to pick it up. So yeah, absolutely. I've
yeah,
never
yeah, yeah,
looked at it like that until right now.
yeah. And if you think about it, uh, it's crazy to think that you mentioned about the magnetic. Everything deals with magnetism, and um, when you mentioned that it's not really a living organism, it's not living like Earth. It's just rock and sand and dust and all of that. But if you think about it, I personally feel anything that has energy flowing through it is basically living. Um, it's okay to a sense. I'm talking on a molecular level, on an atomic level. Have you ever heard of the analogy that we are made of a concentrated amount of millions of atoms? All right, we actually have the what is the correct word? The ability, if well concentrated, to emit a force as big as an atomic bomb because of the atoms inside of us. Everything is made out of atoms. Everything is matter. And what is matter and atoms made out of? I personally believe energy. And to be honest with you, the rocks might be seen as a stationary dead object, but the fact that it's made up of atoms means it's made up of energy, and the fact that it's made up of energy and it's able to do what it does and have that control on the earth and that big of an impact on the earth reflecting from the sun. I mean, the moon itself controls our tides. And I was a surfer. I was surfing about 2 years back, 3 years back. And I mean, the tides are a massive, massive bring about a massive impact and change in what the world knows today. I mean, if we did not have tidal control, where would we be at right now? If we did not have a moon, I mean, just think about it.
How does the moon control the tide?
So the moon, how it works is, if I have to get back into this, geez, I have not spoken about this in a while. The moon, has its phases, right? So with the moon, it's got its full moon, its new moon, its crescent, and all of that. And in doing that, it controls the through the magnetic pull of the sun and reflecting the sun as well. In its orbit, it also affects the magnetic pull and gravitational pull of the Earth, and therefore that's why we have low tide and high tide. And that solely comes directly from the moon. It's not the sun that affects that. The sun, yes, indirectly it is the sun, but directly it's more the moon controlling the tides. But without the sun, the moon would not be able to do it, and without the moon, we would not be able to control the tides, and without the tides, we would either be Atlantis or we would have no water. That's what I think.
When you think about Earth, right? There's volcanoes in the earth. Underground, for example, there is fucking volcanoes, heat, lava, boiling, burning, like ready to explode, right? But we just see it as like, oh, it's just dust and earth and mud and rock. So when you think about how Earth, if you take away the sand and the trees and the water and the mud and the grass, whatever, you're left with what essentially looks like the moon. If there's volcanoes under this Earth, who's to say there's no volcanoes underneath, for example, the moon or Mars or Pluto or Jupiter? It's almost like the bigger the planet is, the cooler it is because there's more of it to cool down, for example. But if you get to the core of it when it first began, who's to say that that's not got volcanoes there, for example? Like the bigger it is, the deeper in the volcano. So who says the moon doesn't have volcanoes deep within itself? Because it's all depending on the size of the rock. It's all rock, floating rock. But so think about how the moon seems to just be like a dead bit of rock. Well, the Earth would look like that if you took away grass and houses and everything that's on it now. Which means if there is like molten lava underneath the moon, then there is life still because it's fire, it's heat, it's moisture, it's condensation, the elements you need for life. So
it's precisely. I totally agree with you. I mean, just because we don't know something, it doesn't mean it's not there. And I mean, if you look at the facts, I mean, it's written between the lines. Exactly what you said. If we take away trees and grass and water and everything that's on Earth right now, it would essentially turn out to look almost like the moon. Having the ability to maybe reflect how the moon reflects the sun and everything, I'm not too sure about that. But the fact that we have a molten core, every planet has its own molten core. At different levels of heat and everything, and that's what I believe allows or gives the planet the ability, so to say, to sustain life or not. And that I think it's all got to do with the gravitational pull, and that's what affects it. The fact that you have your molten core in every planet, that is what how can I say it? I'm so lost of words right now, but I completely, it's on the tip of my tongue. It's so to say that without the molten core that we have, the volcanoes in the earth and the moon and everything, nothing would have a gravitational pull. Nothing would have it. I mean, if the sun is basically our core without the crust, and its gravitational pull is pulling how many planets closer to it by each year, it's you can only imagine what it would look like since we have our own gravitational pull as well. I mean, every planet has it. And the further away from the sun, now obviously, Pluto is now obviously not a planet. It's considered a star, which I'd actually like to know your opinion on that. Um, but with the coolness, when it comes to the planet, the bigger the planet, the colder it is. Um, I wouldn't. I don't know if I would agree with that because um, we obviously have planets in the solar system that are different sizes. And I mean, Pluto is now so small, it's not considered a planet and it's freezing cold. And that could be for the sole fact that it's furthest away from the sun. But if you look at Saturn and Jupiter, they're differentiating in heat. And I think the bigger the planet, the bigger the core, the more heat it has to make so to say, the planet hotter. So if you had Jupiter right next to the sun, I don't think it would be next to the sun for much longer. Because I mean, the bigger the object, the bigger the mass and matter of the atoms, the quicker it burns. So to say that it might be colder, the bigger it is, I can understand that the more there is the more of cool, the more I'm falling over my words over here. It requires a lot more cooling. So to say, the bigger it is, it requires a lot more cooling. So I understand that. And nature will always find its balance. But that is not necessarily, I don't completely agree with that because yes, it has a lot, it requires a lot of cooling. But I do believe that it is still much hotter because it has got a bigger core. Um, that's what I think. But I can't say I completely disagree with you because it's just general logic and scientific that the bigger the surface area, um, especially if it's hot, the more cooling it's going to require to cool down. Uh, I did a firefighting course 2 years ago. Did a firefighting course for the cruise ships to work on cruise ships, and it was like a little course or whatever. But I mean, one of the most essential things they teach you is the bigger the fire, the more water you're going to need and the more brains you're going to need to put it out as well. And I mean, with that, a mild pyromancer that I am, I enjoy fire so much. So watching things burn brings me back to the light subject that you are on, how it can destroy and it can both give life as well. I completely agree with that. I completely agree with that because I would find myself burning things just to watch it get destroyed, to see how such a beautiful thing like fire would be able to destroy something and bring something out of it as well. So not only is it destroying, I mean, think about spring and winter. I mean, we burn all of our fields so that it can blossom into new fields. And we won't be able to get the new fields if you do not burn. So I mean, coming back to the planets, it's a very intricate system on how it works. And when it comes to the sun, ultimately, it's just phenomenal, really, when you think about what the sun is capable of. And the fact that we're moving closer to it, apparently, each year is also very interesting. Also very, very interesting. But I,
Yes,
I, I
so
do believe, yeah,
yes, so you're saying the surface area thing, like the
yeah,
more
yeah,
surface area, the hotter it has, the longer it takes to cool, for example. That is
yeah,
true. So you could say that a big planet, for example, will be hotter than a small planet, right? If you look at Pluto, you say it's really
yeah,
small and it's the coldest. That's because the smaller the planet, the less surface area, so it will cool
yeah,
quicker. But the bigger the planet, I don't know how big Mars is, the hotter it will be. Um,
yeah,
so
I think
every planet would have started from like just molten rock that spluttered out from the sun, right? And as it spins, it picks up other dust and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. It's almost like it doesn't matter how big the planet gets, it always started with a certain amount of molten lava. And
yeah,
as it cools, it cools from the inside going out, but it doesn't mean that it's not going to stop picking up dust. So it gets thicker, it gets bigger from picking up dust and making it bigger. But what was in the middle, once it's kind of cooled, it's cooled. So it's like cooling from the inside out, but also picking up more dust from the outside. So what you're saying,
yeah,
and what I'm saying is right. What you're saying is right, but when you put it together, it's also right. It's not the smaller the planet, the colder it is. The bigger the planet, the hotter it is. Because think about how it can take dust from the outside, also cooling from the inside. Um, it means it can be bigger, but also be cold because
yeah.
it cooled so long ago. Does that make sense? What I'm trying to say?
Yeah. No, I actually agree with you. I mean, it's almost to say that we're both, um, it's almost like the same difference, you know. I've never really used that term, but the same difference. It's almost like saying you're right and wrong, and I'm also right and wrong. And that's why I called it such an intricate thing, because I agree with you. If it starts out with this amount of molten rock, and eventually, with orbiting the sun, it picks up and it picks up and it picks up. Eventually, it's going to be so thick. Oh, sorry, I have a dog by me right now. It's going to be so thick that eventually that core is going to be so how can you say, the heat that it's emitting is going to be so insignificant, it won't be able to completely heat up that thick crust that has built, that rock that has built around it. So I agree with you on that. But also, if you look at it, most of our bigger planets are further away from the sun. So yes, they're picking up a lot, but the fact that it's heat from the inside and the outside. I mean, look at Mars. It's very small, but it's closer to the sun. Um, it's quite close to the sun, which kind of makes Earth very interesting as well, because I mean it's right there. It's in the middle of where it needs to be. But if you look at not Mars, Mercury, for instance, that planet is very small. And as far as I'm concerned, it's Mercury, Mars, Earth, Venus, I believe. Non, oh, goodness me. I learned this back in high school. This is
Anyway,
like
whatever.
years.
That's a perfect link. No, that's a perfect link to talk to you about this. I don't know how much you know about this, but do you know something called, right, hang on. Do you know something called astrocartography?
Astrocartography. I I've never heard of the term, but I can assume if I break down the word, astro has to deal with astronomy, so the solar system, stars, universe, and cartography is to shape something. So you're looking at like drawing maps, or your normal one cartography is dancing and stuff like that. So would that be drawing up stellar systems? Would it involve something like that?
So you're
Studying
close,
the
right? For
stars for
example,
sure.
as you know, right, different planets have different magnetic fields based on how far
Yeah,
they are from the sun, how long they've been in the atmosphere, blah 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 blah. Everything is completely balanced. It's like going to New York City. You've got cars coming left, cars coming from right, cars coming from diagonal, people walking. It's just fucking chaos, right? But it has its system. As long as everyone follows their system, no one gets injured, basically. And
yeah.
when we are born on Earth, there's other planets around at that time. Some planets will be there and then they'll fuck off for 5 years, and some planets will keep orbiting back around. The point is that when that planet is there, it's giving off a certain amount of magnetic field to the Earth and whatever is born at that time. So if I was born and when Mercury was there, and Mercury's got a massive pull, my body's going to have a lot of energy compared to, say, if you were born, Mercury was miles and miles away in the galaxy, and you have Pluto and Uranus by you. That has an energy.
Yeah,
So you are made up of those energies rather than Mercury. Let's just say Mercury is made up of a strong energy, and those two planets that you were born with are made up of weaker energies. You'll be a weaker energy. You'll have a less magnetic force. I'll have a strong magnetic force. Um, and um, essentially, what I'm saying is that, and it's something I'm starting to study now, that planets, when you are born, there were certain planets around you. We are made up of those planet energies, right? You call it your
Yeah,
rising moon, your rising sun or whatever.
yeah,
And I
you're
used to think
rising.
that was all to do with like star signs, and I thought that was a load of bollocks because I've seen tests and studies where people have said the traits of each one, and everyone said that's me. And I know it's general and broad, but that's to do with like star signs and months. If you look at the bigger thing in terms of years and planets rather than months, um,
Yeah,
this
yeah,
has a massive. It really does control everything. Like there's reasons why people are just always in flow and reasons why some people just can never quite get there because if their planet isn't due to orbit the sun for another say 20 years then things aren't going to be in harmony for you for say 20 years whereas if
yeah,
somebody
yeah,
has got a planet that's always orbiting earth then every year you're going to get essentially what you want and for me I
yeah.
haven't had really money luck success love for 28 years and that's because I was born with the planet Mercury around me and that hasn't
Oh,
orbited the Earth for 30 years, and I'm
sure.
almost 30. So it makes sense why I've never really had things in my favor, and now it's all coming at once with all this podcasting and stuff. It just makes
Yeah,
sense.
yeah,
I had to build my energy enough to match Mercury when it comes back around. It's all about energy
yeah.
imbalance. It's almost like
Mm.
Mercury was right and I was going left, but I couldn't go right because Mercury was coming back around left. So I couldn't go left or right. I just had to be patient. So whenever, no
Yeah,
matter where I went, left, right, it still never worked out for me because
mm.
it was always going to come back around, and then I
Yeah,
will
yeah,
go with it.
yeah. No, it's sort of like that general that general saying that most people like to use is being prepared and preparing your field, so to say, in the sense that you also need to learn. I got brought up with three P's. My grandfather was a very, very wise man. He's no longer with us, but he always brought me up with the three P's, which should be patient and the higher frequency. And I only realized this year, funny enough, and he passed away about 3-4 years ago. Funny, funny enough, he passed away on Christmas evening, Christmas morning. He was like, no, he's gonna make it to Christmas for everyone. He passed away Christmas morning. Said Merry Christmas. He left.
Oh,
Strong man. But he, yeah, no, a G of a man. Honestly, like the wisdom he and as a kid you don't always take it to heart, it's just like, yeah, shit, it's just an old person telling me something. But when you look back at it, you're like, wow, wow. But anyway, so the politeness, I only realize now that what he meant by polite was um, raising your vibration. And when you raise your vibration, you're just your energy and your frequency is at such a high level. You're so easily able to flow with everything around you. With the universe, with the energies, with the gravitational pulls of the planets and everything. And when you're patient, you're not walking left when you're supposed to be going right, when the planet's orbiting right, which now I'm realizing this as well through you. So obviously this is obviously something that needed to happen. And so when you're patient, you're waiting, and while you're patient, you're preparing as well. And so what you're preparing in is you're preparing for that energy to come back around. And as soon as it's you're ready to set off. And I think that's what's happened with you as well. I mean, you realized that you were going left when it was orbiting right, and it wasn't working for you, and you decided to just, okay, stop, let it flow, be patient. You prepared yourself as well. You didn't per se give up or carry on, with your ignorance and all of that, and just kept going left, and you realized, okay, you know what, I need to be patient. I need to prepare, and with that, it's just working out for you. I don't know much about the rising moon and rising sun. I did someone asked me the other day what was my star sign and rising sun and all of that, and I agree with you. It's based on a general broad sort of perspective. It's based on months as well, and I do believe that sort of thing, yes, it does have power. Star signs and how the energy from outside of the planet affects us. When you were saying when you're born as well, I mean, yes, I agree with you. there are certain planets around us when we are born, and that determines whether or not you're going to have a stronger energy or you're not. And I did, however, not really take it to heart, because I do believe I'm a person that believes that something will mean something to you if you give it meaning. Your truth is your truth, my truth is my truth, and that's why sometimes I enjoy playing these games that you see online, that they predict your future. You know, they sort of tell you your timeline. Oh yeah, this is what's going to happen this year for you, and you know, or this is the top 7 traits about yourself, and it's not per se true, but it knows how to play with you in the sense that um, your energy and the vibration you're at right now will give something meaning. And so I'm not saying that the star signs are completely inaccurate and completely pointless, because they're not, but they're not completely accurate. And you get what I'm saying. So when it comes to that, I'm apparently my rising sun, and the test that I did on months, so I'm not too clued up with the much bigger picture, but it is definitely a very intriguing subject, I must say.
So in my mindset, I saw the pattern like this. I didn't know why, but I saw the pattern, and it was me always trying to jump on a moving train when it had already left the platform. And everything I did, every new idea, business idea, every girl I wanted, everything I wanted, it was I would go towards it, towards the platform, the train would take off, and it just would always take off. And I spent so much time chasing after the train, and I realized the train's always going to take off when I try and get on it. For example, when you observe a particle, it becomes a wave. It knows when you're looking at
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
Whenever I'm about to jump the train takes off. And I realized that I have to be ready, as in the patience, and prepared for when that train comes past, and jump on it when it comes past. So it's not expecting me to jump. So what I realized
yeah,
is when you translate that into life is that you don't know when something's going to happen. You have to be prepared for when it happens. For example, you can't be knocking on record label doors saying, "Give me a record deal." That's not how it works. You need to be fucking ready to go when that person, should they randomly come and approach you, you need
yeah,
to be
yeah.
ready to go. You need to be an
Mm.
iPhone or an iPad. For example, Steve Jobs, right? He created the iPad before the iPhone. He just hadn't launched it, right? But obviously he had the brand
Yeah,
to just
yeah, yeah,
suddenly
yeah.
create to launch the iPad. It was already ready. So what that's saying is that you need to be prepared for what you want to happen. For example, I spent thousands of hours in the casino studying the roulette. And I studied the people
Oh,
next
wow.
to me, I studied the dealer, and I studied me. And to cut it short, I realized if you always put money down on a number that's just come in, it's no different to just randomly putting money down on any number. What just came in has no reflection at all in any way on the number that's going to come in. Okay, there's just
Yeah,
as
yeah,
much chance of zero coming in 100 times in a row as there is your birthday coming in or that number coming in again. You look at the screen, hot, cold numbers. They're all patterns based on the past. It has no reflection on the future. What I used to do was I used to just sit on that table and put a pound on zero for 4 hours and just wait. Just wait. So I'd do pound, 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 pound. I'd be £20 down, and then all of a sudden it came in. So £36 comes in. Now I lost 20 quid, but I made 36. Sorry, I made 36, lost 20, so I'm £16 up. And then all of a
mm,
sudden, zero might come in again. So that's £36 profit. Or it might come in
yeah,
18 times. The point was that is I realized you have to be prepared for when it comes, and you don't know when it's going to come. And that could be love, it could be getting run over by a car, a tree could fall on your head,
yeah,
it could be a business deal, it could be a parent dying. You've got to be prepared for the reality of life. Okay. And if you're
yeah,
not, you're not gonna fucking cope when it happens, right? And so
yeah,
knowing
yeah,
that you just have to put a pound on zero, knowing that that train is going to come past, knowing that you will meet the love of your life, be prepared. Have that money on the roulette. Wait for that train. Have your have a double bed. Have a driveway for 2 cars. Love yourself. Be ready to give and serve. Then that will come. When it comes, you've already got it ready. It's like
mm,
people buying in Bitcoin when it's gone up. It's too late. You should have bought it before it even went up. There's a chance it might not go up, of course, but the only way you're going to get it is if you take a risk, because you don't know if it's going to come or not. But if it does, you need to have put it on beforehand. And that's how I used to make my money, just putting a pound on zero for 4 hours. And overall, over 4 hours, I tended to be up, because if it's 1 in 36, and really that doesn't mean jack shit. 1 in 36 doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
It can come in 3 times in a row. As long as I've got it down, if it comes in 3 times in a row, I made 100 quid and I leave. And people are next to me fucking putting £50 on, scattering it,
Yeah.
losing it. £50 on, scattering it and losing it. That is life.
Yeah.
It's the same as the planets. For example, Mercury comes back around when Earth was here, when I was born. If I'm trying to make millions and I haven't been able to do it, and I'm connected to the planet, and Mercury hasn't come around yet, and it's coming around now, for example, which it is, it means that that's the roulette ball going round and the wheel going the other way. I've got to be ready, have my money down for when the ball goes round, which is the Earth, which is Mercury going around the
Yeah.
Earth, which is the real, which is the will, and that I will get what I want. And I've learnt that. So now I'm waiting for my time. I'm grounded, and I'm ready for that ball to land. And I can't do anything.
Yeah.
If I go left, it's going to come in right, and if I go right, it comes in left. I have to just do nothing and just know it's coming in. You know?
Yeah, exactly. And that's where a lot of misconception comes in when it comes with hope and faith. Hoping is like you're constantly nagging at the thing, and you're not being patient, knowing that it will happen. It's more like you're constantly it's like you're putting down that 50, you know, that's the hope. And you putting down that pound, that's faith. You know what I'm saying? And it's got nothing to do with, it's a simple thing. It's a really, really simple thing. And I think ultimately just patience is such a powerful thing. Um, in everything that we are. I mean, I'm not too sure if you're one for the Big Bang. I'm not too sure if you're one that believes that there was just and then all of a sudden everything was there.
Yeah, so to
But
me, that's just the sun spitting out molten lava, and the stars
and
are the
then
ones that are still alive, and the planets are the ones that are dead. So you wanted to know your second ago. You said about my theory on what's a star, what's a planet. Well, I've not really thought about it, but I'll give you my answer. What comes to my mind now? When you think of a star, you see a light in the sky, which means there's a flame, which means it's alive. And then if that
yeah,
shooting star burns out, it goes dark, it's dead. To me, a planet is it's not a flame anymore. Not saying that underneath the lava isn't still there, because that's basically a star, right? To me, a star is when the outside
hmm
is a flame and it hasn't cooled. A planet was once a star, has cooled, it's gathered dust, so it looks like it's not alive. Um, and that's essentially why you can't see any light, because the light's deep within the crust. Whereas a star, it's just like a fresh flame. It's just spat out that star, whereas the Earth or a planet was spat out years and years ago, so it's cooled and it's gathered dust, so you can't see the light. So there's my answer.
yeah, gee whiz. I mean, wow. I never actually thought about it that way because I was always just that one that believed there's so like, that nothing can just, it's not just, and then everything's there. I think everything works over time, and that's what I was getting at with the patience. It's not got to do with, and then all of a sudden, well, we've got 9 planets, we've got a sun, we've got like billions of other stars, we've got billions of other suns, which essentially is stars, and there's other planets as well. That just can't and then happen. It's there. It's over time. Everything is patience. Everything is patience, and um, uh, that's it's actually wow. I'm lost for words. Everything you just said there is. I am the Big Bang in my head right now. Everything just went in my head with you saying all of that. It's just fantastic. But
So
yeah, that's basically what I was getting at. The patience is just it's such a powerful thing. And when you were talking about the when it comes to sitting and waiting and jumping on the train, that analogy that you had, and it will come when it doesn't know you're coming, in the sense that you were jumping on the train, but it knew every time that you were going to jump. Um, and so essentially what you did is you just decided, okay, well, you know what, you're going to wait, you're going to leave it, and you're just going to jump. I assume that's what I gathered from what you were saying. You didn't you were patient, you were somewhat prepared, but you didn't make it very obvious that you were going to jump. Is that what you meant by that? Because that's what I gathered from that.
so
So
that is
Mhm.
absolutely spot on. It's like when I used to go to the roulette, I realized you don't know what number's going to come in. You can't plan it. The numbers in the past are irrelevant. And what was amazing is I realized that I studied the roulette, right? I studied it. I get it. I know I could tell you everything about it, right? But I realized that there's certain amount of spins that go past a certain point in connection with the wheel also crossing at that certain point. And so
Yeah.
if I'm looking at the wheel, my brain is doing the calculations that this ball has spun X amount of times. That number was there when that ball crossed there, which means in a few seconds or whatever, it's going to drop around there. So when I just suddenly when I was just looking at the wheel, no predictions, nothing. If I got that gut feeling, zero, I'd say pound on zero, and it came in because,
Yeah.
as you said, you can only get that train when it's coming past you. You can't wait for it to come. You don't know when it's going to come. It will just suddenly you'll see the lights ahead, but you
Yeah.
can't you can't acknowledge that you're going to jump. It's like a ghost always knows when you are focusing on him. He never
Yeah.
will make a sound or knock when you say, "Granddad, please make a sign. Grandad, if you're here, please do something." He doesn't
Yeah.
do it. But when you go back to your daily thing and watching TV, having a wank, whatever you were doing before, then he makes a sign. So it's all to do
Yeah. Yeah.
with when you aren't expecting something, what you want happens, happens. And when you want it to happen, it doesn't. So when that train is
That would be
just about to
scary.
jump past you, when that train's just about to go past you, he thinks, right, I've gone past him. He's not going to jump. That is when you jump. When that ball is about to land, that's when you put your money down because you it's purely based on that random in that moment gut instinct that it's going to happen, and you could be at 36 spins and you won't get that feeling, but that one
Yeah.
feeling you do is the right feeling because you would have only acted upon that gut feeling if the ball in your mindset was doing enough spins based on the wheel at that time, and your brain is doing the calculations as a supercomputer. You got to trust your brain. It's just and yeah, I did this many times. I remember walking out the casino once and I said to my friend, it's just come in. And I went in and it came in. That's all to do with psychic ability. That's not the same thing. But the point was that I always knew when, and it's interesting, when I wanted it to come in and I put the money down, didn't. But when I just suddenly randomly did it, I found it often came in. So again,
Mm.
you cannot predict it. You can't know when that
Yeah.
train comes, you can't think or know or have a plan that you're going to jump. The ghost knows if
Exactly.
you're looking at him. It's when you're not looking at
Exactly.
him, when you just jump. If you go into the ocean right now, or bungee jumping, or skydiving, if you plan to jump, you won't be able to. You
Yeah.
just got to
You're
suddenly
gonna
jump.
freeze.
No
You're gonna freeze.
expectations.
Choke straight. Choke. That actually that's so spot on with the with um it brings me back to back when I was surfing. I was actually a counselor on a at a luxurious American based camp here in South Africa. And so we basically essentially we got paid to take kids to the beach all day, you know, and it was fantastic and everything. And and it's so awesome to connect with kids, to be honest with you. I mean, they're so pure, pure of energy and everything. But besides that, we went for lifeguard training. And the thing is, a lot of people like the idea of, you know, yeah, I'm going to save someone's life in the ocean, and, and oh, you control the waves and, you know when to go into that rip curl or not. Um, and you have like 12 people sign up for this life course thing, this lifeguard course. And when you actually do the training, they're going in there with this sort of by preparing, I think it would be safe to say with this expectation, right? Because expectation and preparing in that sense, like, you know, saying, okay, cool, this is how I'm going to plan this. It's building an expectation before you've even gotten to that moment in your life. And by doing that, so many of them choked. And I know this because I was a person who thought, yeah, you know what, I'm going to go in. I'm going to make sure I miss the rip curl. I'm going to make sure that I get over the wave at this time. Once it hits that, and you know, I almost drowned by doing all of that. I almost drowned. I did not feel it. I almost drowned, and I had to end the lifeguard course about 80% into it. And when I was going to shit afterwards, I had actually left the camp. So I was pretty bleak about that. But you know, it just shows that when you're looking for something, you won't find it. But when you're not looking for it, then it appears. And a good example for me that happened recently, actually, around about, not this time last year, around about October 2 years ago, October 2018, I was um, I was going to head out to China to teach over there, and plans didn't fall through. And I had a really bad gut feeling about it because they wanted to put me on a bad visa, and I was involved with someone at that time that I thought would work out because I had the money, I'd sold everything, and I was making the time, and I was planning out this future with them and all of that, and it didn't fall through. Didn't fall through. So I decided, you know what? Yeah, okay. I realized it's not going to work if I can, or whatever. Now this is on the topic of love. I didn't plan for it, and 2 months later, I had met the real girl that I've actually fallen in love with, and we were together for a year. She was in Germany. I was here in South Africa, so it was like a long distance thing. So there's another thing that I did not plan for at all. I was always against it, and we finally met. I set it and drop it. I said in December, in January last year, I said in December, I'm going to come and see you. She's like, yeah, that's going to go in 4 months. And so I set it and I left it, and I carried on, and I was patient, I was preparing and all of that. And in 4 months after I had sold everything and I wasn't making any money or anything for about 2 months, I made triple what I left off on. And I mean, I would have been an eligible bachelor in the town that I'm in now. I mean, I had like zero to no expenses. If I was single, I'd be driving a really, really fancy car. But I was putting towards Germany, of course. And so each month got there, ended up buying myself a nice fancy PC, blah, blah, blah. All things that I did not prepare for. It just happened. It was just one of those things that's like, great. I jumped. Oh, wow. This is a cool thing. I have a gut feeling I need to buy this PC. Grab it. And it didn't even touch my pocket. Anyway, got there in December. In the year, I was doing what you mentioned. When they say how you manifest something into your life, but you don't focus too much on it. By sleeping on a queen bed or a double-sided bed, you don't sleep in the middle. You sleep on the one side so that you can manifest this space. Get a place with a garage if you don't have a car, so that you can manifest a car. And so I used to do that, and I slept on the one side of the bed and everything. And in December, I had everything. I had everything. It was everything that I had. And I said to her, in December, seeing her, I was like, you know what? You are legit everything that I've wanted. And in that realization, I was willing to drop everything to keep it. And that's when I lost the flow. And so I manifested the love of my life. And February 2020, the 22nd, was our year anniversary. 5 days after that, we broke it off. I was unsure. So I manifested the love of my life, and I manifested the loss of the love of my life. So I do believe that it's a really, really powerful thing. With you, like, needing to know that you shouldn't plan too far. Yes, it's safe to plan in moderation. But when you want something to happen, it's not going to happen. When you don't want it to happen, but subconsciously you're manifesting it, then it's going to happen. And I think that's what happened with you, with your train analogy. Subconsciously, you wanted to jump on the train, but consciously you made it seem like you didn't really care if you missed it or not. You didn't plan it. You just jumped. And that's where I think the gut feeling is the subconscious feeling. And that's why I think, if our subconscious is that strong, and we're made up of the same atoms that the sun is made up of, and the sun is capable of so many things, life and death, how are we not able to be capable of such power as well? Do you get what I'm saying?
So to put this simply, right, through my experience of trying every possibility that there is out there, every variable, right, it all comes down to this: Animals, cows, sheep, owls, ants, flies. They wake at the sun, they eat, they fuck, they migrate to eat and fuck, and they sleep and they die, right? To
Yeah.
cut it short, we are exactly the same. We think
Yeah.
we are moving by doing something. I say you are doing something by doing nothing. What I mean by that is I am
Yeah.
mentally prepared to sell out arenas doing speaking events, but I'm not doing anything. I'm not going to
Yeah.
companies saying, hire me, pay me, this is what I can do.
Yeah.
Waste of fucking time. I feel like I'm doing something towards my dreams, but really, I'm doing nothing because none of that will work out because that's not how it works. It just doesn't
Yeah.
work like that. I speak to you, for example, doing this, and you know a friend who's putting on events. They've got 4 speakers, they need a fifth one because the other one died or got the flu or something. And then I
Yeah.
go over there and I speak, and then it just flows like that. So what you focus on is what you think you need to do to get it, but really it doesn't
Yeah.
happen like that. As you said, the train just suddenly comes past and you jump. You can't plan for the train. So essentially, you are doing something by doing nothing means you just need to be prepared. You don't need to do anything. If you're doing something and you feel like you're evolving, you're not doing anything. For example, if you're a pub singer and you want to be a massive pop star and you're going to all the clubs giving out CDs every day, giving out CDs, but you haven't gone anywhere. You're still going home at the end of the day, going to bed, having your breakfast, and you've not really progressed. No one is calling you. You've not got the record deal. You've not got fans. You've done fuck all. Whereas if you just perfected your singing and just sang to yourself in your bedroom, somebody walks past who's a record label person and says, "Wow, who is that voice?" And then he signs you up tomorrow. So again,
Exactly.
I've realized this through experience, and I've tried forcing against something, going with the flow. None of it works. You force against it, it does the opposite. You go with the
Yeah.
flow. If it's not your time, you're wasting your time. You can trust your gut instinct all the time. As you said, you trust your gut instinct to go to China, and then you find the love of your life. You trust your instincts to stay with her, then you lose her. If you trust your gut,
Yeah.
you're just taking your energy to the next step. Just because you were
Yeah.
in love with her then, that's your energy going to that level, but your energy can keep going on forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. That planet will just keep building up dust and getting bigger. You are constantly evolving. You evolved to that point where you wanted that relationship, and then when that door was closed, another one opened. You get to that energy
Yeah.
frequency of I'm content, I've manifested this love of my life, I deserve better, I'm going to get better. Whereas before it was, I wish I had this person. And then you get to that stage. So we're constantly evolving. And by doing by not doing anything, you're doing something. And so many people, they feel like they're doing something because they're physically doing stuff. It's like mum says, you're sitting there watching YouTube all day, you're not doing anything with your life. And I'm like, the stuff I'm learning on YouTube is the stuff I teach. And somebody's going to
Yeah.
hire me to speak at an event. So
Thank you.
I'm laying in
Thank
bed doing fuck all, but really I'm
Yeah.
not. Because it's no different to
Yeah.
going to school, university for 7 fucking years, spending 50 grand on a professor who learned from a textbook 50 years ago, going to school, paying for your accommodation, going clubbing, spending money, eating shit, waking up late, lectures all day. You feel like you're doing something, and then you leave that university with this degree, you can't get a job. So you've done nothing for 7 years. You might have well just not done anything for 7 years and laid in bed and watched YouTube
Yeah.
and taught online. So by doing something doesn't mean you're doing anything.
Exactly. Exactly. I completely agree with you that. And it's crazy to think about it, but you've just woken up something inside of me. Like this podcast was meant to happen because you made me realize by saying that, you know what, you're manifesting, you manifest that you trust your gut feeling and you manifest, okay, you know what, I really, really want the love of my life and everything. And then I get there and then you trust another gut feeling that takes you on to, okay, you know what, I can get better. And it's made me realize just how I'm not able to keep a job, how I'm not able to uh, stay in relationships longer than a year, um, and how
Because you are
I hit
constantly evolving and they're not.
exactly, and it's not that it's not a bad thing, and it's something I always told myself when I was younger, and I completely forgot about it. Just how powerful the subconscious is. I always used to say when I was in school, even grade 7. I don't know what standard that is. Standard is +2, isn't it? Standard is +2. I think so. It'd be standard. 9, or I'm not too sure. Anyway, so I was in grade 7. I was 13 years old. Uh, Ever since then, when I started, thinking for myself, basically, from when I can remember, I don't remember my childhood at all. But I always told myself and told everyone who asked me that, you know what, there's always a bigger fish and there's always something better. There's always something better. And having that imprinted into my subconscious and my mind for so long, I think that's what's been happening with me. So I hit this, I start out and I get somewhere. And as soon as I'm there, as to where I wanted to be, I realize, or my subconscious resets and it goes, okay, now there's something better. Boop, drops you back down, but it's not dropping you back down backwards. It's dropping you forwards, and then it prepares you to go further up. It's almost like traveling along all the mountains around the world. You know, you have this part. You're starting here on this side of the earth, and you want to go that way around until you're back here, so to say. You know, so you have your destination. Okay, that's never ending. It's like running a 2D simulator. The platform is moving. You're not really moving. It's the platform moving. And I know this from actually creating them back in school. I did IT, so it was quite strange. I always thought it was the little man moving, but it's actually the platform. It's the world. The man's stationary. You're just flowing with the world. It's crazy. It's a crazy analogy. But anyway, so you're climbing up this mountain and you get to the top and you're like, yes, I've conquered this mountain. And when you're at the top, you're seeing a higher mountain, a bigger mountain that you could not see from being at the bottom of the one you just conquered. So as soon as you get there, you're like, wow, that was fantastic. Okay, there's a bigger mountain. So you start going down that one, hit the valley, go up the bigger one. And the funny thing is, there's always a bigger mountain. So you never really look back. So it's like the world is just constantly, it runs out and then goes back. And that's where it comes with the analogy that energy is transferred and, so to say, recycled. It's not destroyed. So sort of like a treadmill in a sense, but it's a very narrow-minded way of thinking that your life is just a treadmill and you're just running and running and running. I don't think it's that, but in a sense, it's also that.
No, see,
But yeah, man, thank you so much for waking that up in me. Now I realized why so many things are just why things are happening with me. It's crazy.
so yeah, energy only gets bigger in mass. The sun only gets more hotter and powerful. Planets just pick up more dust, more they are spinning. Animals keep breeding, flowers keep growing. It rains, it rains, it sun. Everything is a continuous cycle, no matter what it is.
Yeah.
Like the roulette keeps spinning, the trains keep running, everything keeps spinning. If you keep evolving, you're going to become out of sync with every single human being, even Jesus, Buddha, and monk, the smartest people. Because if you stop learning at the level they are at, then you could say marry Jesus, monk, or Buddha. But if you keep learning, you're going to become out of sync with Jesus, monk, or Buddha, and you're going to become
Yeah.
more wise than them. So, for example,
Yeah.
relationships. Before I was spiritually aware, when I was 19, the first love of my life, for example, I was like, this, my girlfriend I've always wanted since I was 13. This is her. And I tried to keep us together. And it was together. And then I had a breakdown because it was like, I wanted it so bad, it was perfect, but I never got it. And I lost it, went
Yeah.
to spiritual land, started speaking to ghosts and stuff like that. And I became awake. And then for the 7 years after that, I couldn't find a girlfriend. I didn't want a girlfriend because every time I looked at a woman, we were just not the same. I was too confident for her, too aware for her. They always felt intimidated by me
Yeah.
inferior to me. Like I was too good. It's not that I was too good. It was just we're on the different frequency, and
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
I start working on myself more because I'm not desperate for love. And the more you work on yourself, you can't be asked for love anymore. And everywhere you look, they don't do it for you. They're good looking, but there's just no spiritual connection. You see weakness, you see they're not confident, insecurities, too much makeup. And so it's
Yeah.
like the more you evolve, the further away you get from the norm. And you keep evolving. If you stayed at the same mindset that you were at when you met your love of your life, then the probably chances are you'd probably still be with her, the same energy vibration. But as you kept
Yeah.
evolving, even in a year, you could evolve so much, you become out of sync and it doesn't work. And if you choose to consciously learn all the time, you're going to be smarter than everyone around you. But if you stop learning and the world catches up, you're going to be the same. It just depends on your need to learn, need to keep
Yeah.
finding greener grass. Um,
Yeah. Despite the shit that's on the other side, the grass is always greener because it's a very negative outlook on it. But the grass is greener on the other side because there's more shit there. But but that's just it's a very negative mindset in my opinion. The grass is greener because it's looked after that side. The shit is controlled. So to say, it's
Um,
shit is inspiration. But I agree with you with the with getting out of sync with it because I said this just the other day with one of the other creators, one of the other souls that I met along this path that I've taken into meeting you as well. And I said to her that, you know what, I realized why it's so hard for me to accept the fact that I manifested the loss of the love of my life. It's because like you said, now you get out of sync of that norm. And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to bring her to my level. And that way I'm lowering myself. It's sort of like I need to get her to my level, I need to lower myself to be able to bring her up. Whereas she's not entirely ready yet. She might not be ready to get to that level that I am at, mentally and spiritually. And I think with you saying that eventually you're just going to be out of sync with each other. It's a very, very powerful analogy, or way of saying it, a way of putting it. It really makes a person think. So you need to decide: do you want to keep evolving, or do you want to just stop and pause and risk getting out of sync with the bigger picture, the bigger flow, for a smaller flow? In a sense, it's almost got to do with settling. I don't know if I'm getting anywhere with this. It makes sense in my mind, but maybe I'm not using the right words. That tends to happen a lot.
oh no, I understand completely.
So
So
you understand. You're getting what I'm getting at.
absolutely. So yeah, so I'll translate that. When you want something, it's based on a thought, based on someone else's thought, or your own thought based on your five senses. So somebody else's
Yeah.
thought that you've picked up on, or your five senses that you've heard, you've seen, you've tasted, you've touched, or whatever, right? For example, I like black women, so I look for a black woman. I think, wow, she's really hot. She's not on my level, so I either come down or pull her up. Now, if you have to pull her up, it means wasn't going to come there naturally, which means it's
Yeah.
like when you are holding up a person who's got broken bones, as soon as you stop holding them, they collapse. They need to learn to walk themselves.
Mm.
Um, but what I will say is that the I always knew there was one person out there on the same frequency as me, and I wouldn't have to teach, wouldn't have to bring them up to my level. They'd already be at my level. Okay, I found this person when I was 27. She's also 28, but she's also never had a relationship either because she's also very high in energy, same brain,
Wow.
same type of intellect. And
Yeah.
essentially, I tried my whole life with this girlfriend since when I was like 12 years old. I always wanted a girlfriend. Everyone around me had girlfriends, many, many girlfriends. I couldn't even get one, right? And
Mm.
so that's because I wanted it, because I saw my friends having it. But just because I wanted it doesn't mean I'm supposed to have it. So what we want as a thought is not the same as a vibration. Imagine that when
Yeah.
you want something, your energy has to be the same to either attract it or repel it. If I want a black lady because I like black people, but my energy says no because the person who you're trying to attract into your life isn't black, you want that person, but you can't grab them. It's like the train. As I'm about to jump on the train, it fucks off. Why is that? It's because the energy was forcing it away despite me wanting it because it wasn't in harmony. Whereas the person who I'm with, for example, is, for example, white, and she's the same energy. So when I grab it, the train doesn't go. It's there. It wasn't the black person, but who says that it was ever going to be a black person? That's what I wanted
Yeah.
based on what I'm
Mm.
used to seeing growing up at school. Lots of black people in your year. You're used to black people, so you have sexual fantasies about black people. Loads of Chinese
Yeah.
people, you'll go for Chinese people. It's just what you're used to seeing.
Yeah.
Hence why some monkeys can live around cows because they're all used to seeing each other. Whereas if you suddenly had a goat amongst the cows would be like, "What the fuck is this goat?" Like, I don't know. So what we're used to is what we accept. But your energy levels, for
Yeah.
example, your person you fell in love with, right? When she was born, she was around, say, Jupiter and Pluto. When you were born, you were around Mercury and Mars. You can't
Mm.
teach her and bring her to your level because she's been controlled by those planets, and those planets
Yeah.
are miles away. So you have to let them go. Whereas your purest self is the person that when you have removed all your karma, you've not made any mistakes twice, you become complete. You are in sync with your planets. Your opposite energy, okay, is also going to be connected to the same planets as you. For example, Jupiter and Mars. And they're going to be the same
Mm.
energy as you because they've done the same journey parallel on another side of the
Yeah.
motorway, going down the same path. There's barriers there. You can't just jump across. You've got to travel for fucking miles and miles and miles. And then you get to a roundabout. Then you can cross paths. But you can't until that time happens. You've got to keep in your lane, keep going, keep
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
building. You are the same energy as your opposite self. They're called twin flames. Your lover was a soulmate. She was someone along the journey.
Yeah.
The ultimate is a twin flame. The twin flame is hitting the peak of the mountain. A soulmate is meeting people on the way up. The ones who can make it to the top need to have good lungs to breathe in oxygen. Those are the
That's true.
people you need to be around because you've also got good oxygen and lungs, so you're going to be at the top. Whereas everyone else is like
Yeah.
halfway, is like, I can't make it. You just go off without me. They're
Yeah.
weak.
Yeah.
They're not the same as you. They're your soulmates. They encourage you up.
Yeah.
But when you get there, you're left with the people who are the same energy as you because they needed to have the same energy as you to get up there. That is your twin flame. And only when you become
Exactly.
complete, you will find that same person. My girl, for example, we have 90% of the same planets.
Wow.
Whereas your lover, for example, you probably only had about 30, 40%.
Yeah. Yeah. I never really looked into it, so I wouldn't really know. Wouldn't really know. Um, but essentially, a very childish way of looking at it is to say that a Taurus is really good with the Taurus and a Scorpio is really good with the Scorpio. But I
Exactly.
understand the concept you got you got running over there because um, twin flames in the sense that when everyone says opposites attract, I mean it's a very scientific point of view. Because positive attracts a negative, but that's only because they cannot exist without the other. But then, if you think of it, a positive and a positive repel each other, and a negative repel each other as well. It's a scientific way of looking at it. But when you look at it as at the bigger picture, for instance, with the planets, and I'm going to bring it to a level that I understand with your star signs and your zodiac signs. I mean, yeah, it's based on the months, and it's not the bigger picture, but you're a Taurus. Essentially, you know yourself. And if you know yourself more than you know anyone else, then essentially you know the Taurus that you are going to be attracting because it makes sense that a Taurus works well with a Taurus because this person knows exactly what ticks this one, and this person knows exactly what makes this one fucking annoyed. You know what I'm saying? So then you work around that, and you work in perfect harmony. It's like it's like this whole Liger thing, having a tiger and a lion. Just I don't why would you do that? It's pure scientifical. It's all there to experiment to see if it works. It's feeding curiosity, and feeding curiosity is not a bad thing. But um, when you're looking for something in perfect harmony, it needs to be on the same vibration as you, and um, that's what I understand with the twin flames, which is something I haven't really looked into. And it's quite funny because last night I was catching up on some of my YouTube videos with the subscriptions, and I happened to go down. You get the recommended, and you can add
Yeah.
it to your queue. Yeah, so I was going down, and one of Master Sri Akashana's videos was the soulmates or twin flames, and I didn't see the thumbnail or the topic of it. I was scrolling, and I don't know if you believe in the energies that number combinations carry. I don't know if you're one
Uh, the
that
answer
looks into
is
that.
the answer is no, but language and numbers have come from different levels of vibrations. So you've got the arpeggio scale. Um,
Mm.
it's all to do with like the frequencies going up. But carry on.
Yeah. So basically, I just saw a really really satisfying, so to say, number that caught my eye, and I looked at that number, and it was a repeating number. If I can remember correctly, it was a 2323, something like that. I can't remember. There was a two in it. It was either a 2323 or a 2222. Anyway, point is, I saw a very satisfying number combination, and I looked up at it, and it was the soulmates or twin flames, and it was really funny because when I read, you know what? Actually, now that I remember it, it was a 2-2 because with the numbers now, obviously, uh, it's now been introduced. So I'm curious now. I'm curious to see if this really works. You know, like when someone introduces star signs to you, you're obviously like, if the first few facts were really on point with you, you're going to carry on reading. You know, so it's been introduced to me and everything. So I've given the meaning. I've the 2-2 pretty accurate description of what I'm going through right now with love and all of that, you know, because I only recently um, broke up and lost the love of my life and everything. And so I looked at the number and I'm like, oh, great, that's 2-2. I know what it means. And I looked up at the thumbnail and said soulmates or twin flames. And into my PC. I was like, no, forget it. It's all right. I'm not going to watch that video. And I know actually I should probably watch it. And the fact that you've brought it up now with the twin flames, and someone else has brought it up 2 days ago as well. And Aaron Doughty's always talking about twin flames as well. I don't know if you know Aaron Doughty. Aaron Doughty, he's also he's a YouTuber that helps people expand their consciousness. And I followed him for a while, and then I followed Master Sri Akashana, and you know, fed my curiosity into it. Because one of my ultimate goals is to find spiritual balance, and learning to take control of my subconscious. Because a lot of things that happen in my life is subconsciously the result of me being consciously unaware. So it's like I made the crazy analogy the other day of being, you know, when those mothers, they have their babies wrapped around their chest or their back with towels, or like these carry sort of contraptions and everything. So I'm like the baby, and my subconscious is the mother, and I'm just going around with the flow, and I'm just like, where are we going? And you know, I want to learn to walk as well. So that's a goal of mine that I've basically set and left, and I'm working towards it, and I think I'm evolving towards it as well. I mean, it did evolve into meeting you. I did not at all plan on doing podcasts, but over the past month or so, I've been having people saying, you know what, yeah, I should look at doing my own podcast. You know, I have a voice, a very strong voice. I have quite a bit of wisdom for my age, but I still have a lot to learn, and I'm very open to learning new things. And people need that in podcasts, you know, not this pointless shit that you find all around the internet talking about how you know, you can eat a certain type of leaf and it makes you piss and shit at the same time, you know, that sort of thing. So you know, it's not completely pointless. So I thought to myself, okay, yeah, sure, you know, I could maybe look at doing podcasting later on, but you know, right now I have what I want to look at starting off with. And then you messaged me, you're like, hey, do you want to look at doing a podcast or whatever? And I'm like, wow, okay, where did this come from? And then told me about Nico and everything. And I would not have met Nico or met you if it wasn't for Nico. And I would not have met Nico if it wasn't for the loss of the love of my life, because I wouldn't have gone into this direction, ultimately leading to this point right now, if I had not lost her. If I had not lost her, I'd still be in Germany working a 9-to-5 job. Well, I don't know if I'd still be in Germany because I'm a South African citizen. So yeah, but point is, you know, everything happens the way it's supposed to, and it's amazing. And I think somehow being suggested with the twin flames and everything, I really need to take the time to look into it, which I might actually do tonight.
So what I will say is, right, is when I normally trust my gut all the time, and so things
Yeah.
I never get what you would call signs, for example, because I always trust my gut.
Yeah.
But when I don't trust my gut, I get signs. And to me, if I hear one sign, it's okay, I need to be aware there could be a sign here. Then I hear another person say it, I'm like, right, maybe this is something I need to focus on. As soon as I get 3 signs, that's it, I'm doing it. So, for example, in the YouTube video, first sign was the numbers, second sign was your friend saying it. I'm the third sign. Now you have to look at it. And then when you watch that video, you will see that is why. Now, what's happening is that you're essentially, you're going from procrastination to present, right? You're catching up on your thoughts. You know deep down in your subconscious mind that you should be watching this, but there's a reason why you're not. For example, there's going to be truth you don't want to hear, or you're not
Yeah.
ready yet to hear that lesson. And so therefore what's happening is that your subconscious mind is holding on to that thought, and it's going out every day, and everyone else is picking up on that thought as their own, and then they are speaking that thought as if it's theirs, but really it's yours, right?
Yeah.
Whereas if
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
had applied action to that thought and watched that video, say a week ago, then that thought would have been put to bed, and you won't be
Mm.
subconsciously thinking about it anymore. So there'll be no vibrations being released from your brain.
Yeah.
So the
Mm.
fact that there's signs coming back, it means that in your brain you're still thinking about it, and there's still frequencies going out, and it's not them giving you the sign, it's you knowing I should be watching this, and there's a reason why I'm not. And because you haven't dealt with that thought yet, other people are still going to be picking up on that thought and
Mm.
speaking to you like it's a random thing, but really it's not. It's your
Mm.
thought. Um,
Yeah.
what was I going to say? Imagine you've got a bag full of Skittles, red, yellow, pink, blue, orange, purple, and green, right? Imagine you've got lots. Imagine you've got 7 blue, 6 yellow, 5 red, 4 orange, 3
I'm
pink,
gonna
2
forget
blue,
numbers.
1 green. Yeah. Imagine that you just mix them all around in the bowl. Over
Yeah.
time, all the reds are going to attract to the reds, all the greens are going to attract to the green, all the blues are going to attract to the blue, all the pinks are going to attract to the pinks. Just like in a club full of good-looking people and ugly people, all the good-looking people will attract towards the good-looking ones, and all the ugly fat ones will attract towards the ugly fat ones. What I'm saying
Yeah.
to you is this: that you will always attract towards things that are the same as you. If, for
Yeah.
example, you are on an energy frequency that I am on, other podcasters are on, other YouTube people are on, other public speakers are on, it's only a matter of time until you start podcasting, YouTubing, speaking on stage, because that
Yeah. Yeah.
they were your energy frequency, and your energy frequency is going to be theirs because you are made up of that energy anyway. If you weren't made up of that energy, you wouldn't be speaking to me, speaking to Nico, speaking to your girl, because you just wouldn't be that energy frequency. So
Yeah. Yeah.
your job is to keep going up what I call the arpeggio scale. You've got a piano. You got C D E F G A B C C D E F B A G C C. It keeps going up. Okay. If you've got a
Yeah. I'm
grand
good.
sized piano, there's 7 octaves, and you could only be an octave 3. You got to keep going to
Yeah.
octave 7. If you've got a piano that's only got say 3 octaves, well, there's nowhere to go. So you are always going to end up where you're supposed to be, whether you trust your gut or not. Because if you trust your gut, you'll go into the next stage. If you don't trust your gut,
Mhm.
the universe will find a way to bring you there. For example, if you trusted your gut to look at that video, you've gone up a stage. You've gone from note C to D. If you don't trust
Mm.
your gut and you stay on C, that thought will still be out there, and somebody else will come to you who picks up on that thought and says about the video, which will make you go to D. So by doing
Yeah.
nothing, you're doing something. You're
Mm.
going to get there anyway, whether
I,
you
I
trust
was
your gut.
waiting for me to say that. Sorry, man. Sorry to interrupt you there. Like, by doing nothing, you're doing something. I really wanted to make reference to that. I was waiting for you to finish and be like, yeah, you said it earlier.
So yeah, you can't go to note
Perfect.
C if you
Yeah.
aren't vibrating. You can't vibrate on note D. You have to. It has to
Yeah.
be in order. So whether you like it or not, whether I like it or not, I'm either going to be a public speaker or I'm not going to be, because either my
Yeah.
wisdom and knowledge is going to be so profound to people that they keep saying, "Oh my God, you need to go on stage," and everyone's like, "Speak, speak, speak." All I got to do is say, "All right, then." I just have to go to note C. I've just got to jump on the train. Whereas if I wanted to be a public singer, public speaker, and I don't know how to get there, well, that means I'm on note C trying to get to note E. I'm missing out the D part, which
Yeah.
means that
Yeah.
no matter what I do, I'm still going to end up in the same vibrations as I am, whether I like it or not. And it's made up of our planets. If your planets were X amount of planets when you were born, and they are connected to these other people in the future, singers and YouTubers and podcasters, your energy is going to be the same, whether you like it or not.
Yeah. Yeah. It's wow. It's not to say, yeah, it's your purpose and it's your destiny. You're born and you're going to die having achieved this, and then you're done. I don't think it's that. I think in between you can still determine and control what your outcome is, um, through this knowledge that you gain along the way. And it's just I'm lost of words, really. I really, really am lost of words.
For example, right? I could walk into Sony record label with Simon Cowell, give him a CD. At the same time, I could take a piss with him in the cinema toilet where he's taking his son Eric. Okay? He might not sign me up when I walk into his office, but he might sign me up when I'm in the toilet. So,
Yeah.
what you're saying, I actually disagree. I believe that no matter how much work you put into something, the outcome's still the same. You're either going to get there whether you put work in or not. If you are a magnet at a certain frequency, you're going to attract the opposite things and people on that frequency because you are vibrating on that frequency, whether you like it or not. You can't go
Mm.
down in energy. You can go up, but at that point, you're going to attract the same, right? The red Skittles are going to go with the red Skittles. There's just there's no point trying to focus and control life. For example, animals will migrate when the weather changes and they always end up there. They can't
Hmm.
migrate now because the weather is shitty over there, and they only
Yeah.
migrate when the weather's shitty here. And as long as
Yeah.
they keep moving every few miles when the sun changes, they're still going to be in warmth. Whereas if they go now, it's raining over there. If it's not raining here, then they don't need to move because the sun's only like say for 2 miles and the rest of the way is rain. So you can only
Yeah.
move when the circumstances are there. Essentially, whether you like it or not, you're gonna get where you either want to be by doing nothing, by the belief that I know I'm gonna get there. Don't focus on it, just let it go. That's why they say let it go, because you're gonna get there or you're not. If you try
Yeah.
and get there any quicker, you're not going to get there any quicker. You're just going to waste time thinking you're progressing, but you're not doing anything. You're going to get it's like plants will grow at the same rate. Plants will grow at a certain rate. A business will launch at a certain rate. You can't speed up the growth of a plant. I've truly learned this. You can either be given plants from other people, that is it's a fully grown plant, but you don't know how they got there, how long it took to grow, how much watering and time and energy it took to, prune that plant, or you're given a seed and you just nurture it and water it and look after it and don't know when it's going to blossom and grow, but that's the risk you take. That
Mm.
is it's going to happen in its own time, whether you
Yeah.
like it or not. You can't water it quicker because you'll flood it. You can't give it too much sun, you'll burn the leaves. You can't prune it too much because you'll have like no leaves left.
Yeah. Yeah.
Stuff is going to happen if it's going to happen, and we don't have any control over it. Um, I have learnt this through my own experience that we're powerless and we think we have control by taking action, but really, taking action doesn't get us anywhere. And by doing nothing, we get there when we weren't expecting it. What does that say? It means that the outcome's the same whether we do anything or not, but you've got to be prepared and ready,
Yeah. Yeah.
knowing what you want to happen. That's why you have to get the garage of the car, get the double bed for the woman. You don't know when she's going to come in your life. I have found this girl when I'm 27. I've wanted the girl for my whole life. I let go of everything. I perfected myself and I find somebody on the same vibration. But when I was desperate for love, I look back now. Who the fuck would have wanted me like that? Desperate, spotty. Like, I was a
Yeah.
fucking nightmare. And you can only learn looking back. Yeah, that's all I have to say.
That's true. That's true. Um, but in a sense, I agree with you. But there is a part of me that wants to disagree, and it probably is the negative mindset upbringing, the programming, so to say. Um, but to be honest with you, I always believed in looking back at the past. It's not going to move you any forward. It's like keeping your foot in the door behind you while you're trying to step through the next five doors in front of you. Even if you're unaware that there's five, there's just one right now that you can see. You know, so I think I agree with you. I agree with you when you say that you only learn from the past. That is true, but I don't agree with being hung up by the past. Um, basing every move you make according to what happened in the past. I feel that is that's quite stupid in my opinion, because then you're basically just going to you're going to be repeating where you're at right now if you're just trying to, you're not learning. Essentially, you're not learning from the past. That's what I'm saying. Like, some people have the misconception of, like you say, you can only learn from the past, and people have the misconception of what learn from the past means. It doesn't mean that you now need to try and take action to force a different outcome, because you're just going to get the same outcome by doing that. It's the same of saying, you know what, when you're trying to forget about, when you're trying to force yourself to forget about a specific thought, you're giving it energy, so it's just going to expand. You're not actually going to get rid of it, and that's why so many people see this law of attraction thing. Oh yeah, it does not work for me. You know, this whole manifesting thing and stopping and letting it flow. It does not work for me because, you know, I'm always focusing. But what they don't realize, they're focusing on how it's not working for them. So that's why it's not working for them. And so I think with you saying that you can only learn from the past, and that yes, we are completely powerless, and we in a sense are destined for a specific outcome because of how, you know, the period that we were born in, or how we were born, and all of that. It has opened my mind up a bit right now, because I always believe that, yeah, to say that you have a purpose, you got to fulfill it, and then you're going to die, it's a very sad way of living. You know what I'm saying? It's like saying, yeah, you know what, once I know when, it's like saying, you know, your death date. You get what I'm saying? You know what you need to achieve for your purpose to be fulfilled, and then you're done. So what people need to understand is, now what I need to understand is, yes, I have that destined purpose. I have that, you know what, if I want to be an actor, but I am born to be a janitor, I'm going to try my best to be an actor, but it's not going to work for me. It's not going to work for me at all. You know, maybe I might just land acting jobs where I'm just a janitor in a school with every single movie that I'm in. You know, eventually you're going to realize, okay, you know what, maybe I need to be a janitor, you know? And so I see that now. I agree with what you were saying, that, you know what, no matter how hard you try and fight it, to try and take control of it, you're not going to, it's not going to work.
Those barking dogs, can you go inside or something?
Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah. So someone just arrived, so they'll stop eventually. I need to possibly end the, I might need to vacate now.
How long you got left?
I'm actually 15 minutes over.
Right. So do you wanna stop now then?
I think if you want to, there's obviously some more to learn and everything. Sorry, this is my yard. This is what we get every morning.
No, listen, there's no rush. You just always stop talking when we feel the need to stop talking. So I'll keep talking if you are able to keep talking, and if you're not, then we'll stop. And that's the thing. It's up to you. If you want to keep talking, then we can. If you can't, then we won't. It's up to you. I'm just enjoying the conversation.
Oh yeah. All right. No, I'm enjoying it as well, and I actually don't want to go, but I know as soon as I go inside, it's going to be like, oh, so how do it go? You know, it's how it is over here. Actually, people are waiting on me to eat, so I think we could end it, yeah, and then maybe organize another podcast.
Okay,
for another
right.
time
So
as
before
well,
you leave,
because I'm learning so much. Yeah.
Before you leave, plug anything you want to plug. Website, social medias.
What do you mean?
Like, if you got any things you want to promote, website, social media pages, YouTube channels, whatever.
Right now I'm working on a Facebook and Instagram. I'm eventually going to start with a YouTube, but that will probably be in about a month or two. I'll start with a YouTube.
Okay. So I'm going to press stop, wait there, and I'll just say goodbye, okay?
Okay, cool.
Right there.
That's it.